of Education Pe Charcha on Vidyadan. It is definitely I, Vivekananda, author, academician, and a public intellectual. Welcome all of you to our spectacular show. Since you all, or rather most of you who have already been familiar with our platform, you know that through Education Pe Charcha, we are trying to spread knowledge, because there is no substitute for knowledge in whichever era we belong to. And therefore, as you people have been witnessing, that we keep on inviting the best of brains for our brainstorming session on Education Pe Charcha. We have had all top class people from India belonging to diverse fields of specializations, greeting and gracing our Education Pe Charcha. So today, as in the past, we have invited one of the topmost CEOs. Rather, I would like to define him as CEO of CEOs. Although the very concerned person, respected Shri Sanjay Mehta ji, actually he took an objection to this very description of mine as CEO of CEOs, because he felt embarrassed. As a very humble soul he is, he said to me to just address him as a CEO. Sri Sanjay Mehta ji, I would like to tell you, my dear viewers, just few lines that how, by way of a serendipity means, accidental, means discovery. How I stumbled upon Sri Sanjay Mehta ji in Simla without the remotest of my imagination that I would meet a man, who would be something short of an institution, in as much as he has been instrumental in terms of pioneering the BPO in India. Sri Sanjay Mehta ji, in fact, has been a pioneer in the field of BPO. And I would like to tell you something about Sri Sanjay Mehta ji before I invite him to come before all of us, because if I don't tell him, about his background, about his experience, possibly I would not be able to do justice to his very outstanding persona. Now, what is something about Sri Sanjay Mehta ji, ex-managing director of Teleperformance India, ex-regional president, North Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. He worked as the chief experience officer till 2001 as a part of 55 billion Teleperformance group. He spearheaded the company's ascent to one of the most focused people prime organization in the industry. He served as a regional president of North India, Indo-US Chamber of Commerce, and as a member of the National Executive Council of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, and was the guiding force in organizing the Indo-US BPO Summit in USA. Provided the industry a platform to connect with the client company. Very, very spectacular achievement. And I must tell you here, the most successful, a success story that can be attributed to our honored guest today, Sri Sanjay Mehta ji, is that he has provided jobs to almost 60,000 people and more. Really a success story for all of us. That is what exactly is his very specialty in today's time. He acted as the face of Teleperformance as their citizens of the planet and the citizens of the world initiatives. This, his company, Teleperformance India, had a presence in 80 countries, speaking 265 languages, serving in 170 markets. So this is the gist of his spectacular achievements, because if I go on dilating upon his overall achievements, possibly the entire program of our 1 hour would get exhausted. So I just told you the gist of Mr. Sanjay Mehta's overall accomplishments, and that is why today's topic is very, very important, the post-COVID work life. Because while I had some sort of discussion with Sanjay Mehta ji in Simla, he broached this very important topic because he's already been working in this particular area as to how to work from home in this COVID, in this cataclysmic crisis as has been unfolded by this post-COVID phase. So therefore, I felt really interested to invite him, and so gracefully, a man of utmost humility, that what he epitomizes, he readily conceded to my request And today, consequently, he is there to bless and grace Education Pe Charcha. I am inviting now Shri Sanjay Mehta ji to come before all of us, our honored guest today. Sir, you are very, very welcome today for our Education Pe Charcha.
Thank you, Vivekananda ji. It's a great honor. Very humbled. You have said very kind words about me. Not sure whether I deserve all that praise and kindness, but it is a pleasure to be here with you, speaking on subjects that are very interesting and very, very important in today's time.
Thank you, sir. Actually, I would like to ask you, because you come from the specialized field of BPO, we have seen that it has been one of the largest employers of India today. And of course, so many questions pertaining to that, as well as your role as a president of US Chamber of Commerce definitely will follow a while later. Sir, what exactly is the nature of BPO industry? We know, but from your and we would like to know what exactly is the nature and pattern of BPO industry and how it has graduated into one of the biggest employers in the job market. Your take on this, sir?
Well, BPO service delivery business is actually a job creating machine. Very unique from most other industry segments. Most other industry segments require specific qualifications and talent. Like if you get into the medical, then you need to be a doctor or you need to be from the healthcare. If you want to be an architect, designing buildings, you need to be an architect. Or if you need to be in the IT segment, then you need to be from the technology or at least the coding expertise or the tech tribe, as I call it, but the BCA, MCA kind of qualification for software development and application development, etc. Here, the BPO industry has room and space for the widest range of educational qualifications, and that could be from 10th pass upwards. Communication is written or spoken is an advantage, especially when you're dealing with offshore work. Offshore means other countries, and that is a very large business. Today, the BPO business in India accounts for about $40 billion. That is approximately 4 into 7, say, a little shy of 3 lakh crores worth of revenues, and most of that is in foreign exchange. So it is a revenue foreign exchange earner for the country. It employs directly about over 10 lakh employees. But it's a very interesting phenomenon. It allows to also bridge the gap between education and employability. In this country, you can get very fancy degrees, but do they make you ready for employability is still a big question mark. At a mass scale. Chosen few, top of the pyramid, yes. But by and large, for the mass level, the answer is a question mark and borders between question mark and no. So a BPO is a very intensive skill development, training development machine for the country. While people come, and it's a very early stage job opportunity. When people join this industry at the age of 19, 20, 21 till 25, the average age of this industry is very young. It's about 27, between 27 and 25. It is giving you a training platform and a stepping stone for a workforce training for all the industries. People from here leave for marketing, they leave for joining the retail trade, they leave for joining the e-commerce business, and so on and so forth. So they get trained in customer handling, customer engagement, or back office operations of the value chain of a business, basic business understanding, And in my way, anybody who takes this job seriously for about 2 years at an entry level is nothing short of an MBA. And the reason I will share with you, you get to take, for example, customer service delivery. They're supporting customer service for queries coming from customers of different brands. And at an average, a person on the desk taking a customer service associate or a customer service agent will process or service at an average, say anything between 10,000 to 40,000 customers' queries in a year. Now, which means in 2 years, the person would have solved problems for a little less than a lakh of people, anything between 25,000 to a lakh of people. So it's a way to look at it to see how much of human behavior, because all of them are coming with problems. He's solving the problem, how he's solving the problem, still making them feel happy and good, reassured, win back the trust for the brand. And that's a huge behavioral experience for anybody to have. And a foundation going forward in life in whatever they want to choose. That's behavioral interaction with people. And I don't think any other profession, any other job that you get, even with the most experienced company, the best, brightest company as a multinational directly in their sales team, you will ever get that experience. And similarly, in transaction processing or X, Y, and Z, you get exposed to automation, technologies, and batch processing or mass scale processing of information, data, knowledge, insights, stage by stage, and turning that into a valuable business need of the customer and servicing that need. So there's a huge amount to learn very early on directly from your education. So this is a tremendous value add to anybody's career aspirations, provided that they take it seriously. Somebody could just take it as a mechanical job, just like we go to class and we just mug up the book and we just vomit out the questions and we get 90% marks, but we find we are not fit in this world. Nobody really appreciates, because I don't remember, I didn't gather any intelligence or learning ability of my brain in that process of that education. So that can happen here too. So I'm not saying everybody, but by and large, that's the way. And I've seen a lot of people build a lot of successful careers over time, step by step, and moved into every kind of industry. And I meet them every time I move around or go physically. Now, of course, the physical interactions have been limited, but even on the social media, you can see that people have progressed and they've done wonderful with their lives. So that's where this industry is in a nutshell to you.
Sir, I would like to ask you, in fact, I would like to get a specialist viewpoint that as the English education or English medium by way of instruction has been institutionalized in India since our independence. So that went to our benefit when many of the companies they tried to move their business BPOs in India. But now sorry, sir, sorry for interruption. So actually, the significant part of Asia,
You're on mute again.
Who are trained in English language. So now there is a risk factor involved that in the most of the businesses, if not all, are going to be taken back to those Asian countries, which are by and large, which have been developing the medium of communication through the English language. So if that were to happen, as the situation has already begun unfolding in that direction, so what then will be how the job loss, how it can be compensated back in the country? It will be some sort of anarchy-like situation, because as you said, that it provides a million jobs to the country today, approximately. So then it would be a cataclysmic situation. How as well as various stakeholders will try to negotiate with this humongous crisis then?
Well, global trade is all about give and take. And there will be pressures of different nature at different times that will happen. As long as the country does not do anything ridiculous to get into the untouchable zone, which I think is very remote. It's not going to happen. We may have our share of troubles and problems, but we aren't that radical or to face that kind of isolation or debarment on that. Those are pressures one will have to work with for jobs. But there is one reality. Why do jobs move? If the e-commerce world is to continue, e-commerce world and digital survives on only one simple thing. That is, you solve a problem or improve the situation more efficiently. And more efficiently definitely includes lowering cost. You take out unwanted cost, non-value added cost. And that's where technology has been such a big favorite, whether it's the stock market or it's at the economic level in the world. But that's what the purpose of technology has been. So they will go to buying these services to a place which can produce them with high quality and low cost. Just like Taiwan was for manufacturing and is still electronics. And China became a center for a lot of products because it's not got to do with love of the country or hate of the country. It's pure business. It's not about emotions. It's about what will consumers buy at what price and what will make any business competitive. The only thing that can be stopped are government contracts. And there's very little of government contracts in BPO that actually flow through, or what I'm talking about. The share of the government contracts already are earmarked mostly for onshore delivery. Like nobody from India handles queries for British passport service or another country's passport service. They will be handled from their own country. So those are government contracts. But yes, the business has only moved very little right now. If you ask me, my estimate is the next wave of disruption and change is yet to happen. The service delivery model of the BPO industry has been, and the IT industry has been more or less same for the last 30 years. Technology changed, modernization changed, campuses got fancy, people got smarter, all the good things have happened. Not denying that. But by and large, the model has remained the same. The next big opportunity here is work from home. And where does that come in? So that's where I said, as universal communication as a service evolves, which is seeing a very, very frenzy growth, and some of the analysts predict it will grow 3 to 4 times in the next 5 years. That's a very phenomenal growth by world standards, which has a lot of developed part of the world and matured part of the world. That world doesn't see double-digit growths normally. And here we are talking of very high double-digit growths or mid double-digit growths. That's one. Second is, the COVID has allowed us to test what is an optional way, which would not have happened in the next 10 years because it was being tested for the last 20 years. That is work from anywhere, work from home. But before going to that, I will step back. What happened in India is miraculous in education. 300 million children, the size of America population. Kindergarten to university level went from classroom to no classroom to virtual classroom with no training, no infrastructure, and no planning. Within weeks, not months. Okay, some might have got there faster, some took a little more time, but it all happened in number of weeks we can count. Now imagine a transformation in the work way happening within weeks for a size of the entire population of America. In an underdeveloped or a semi-developed or developing country, whatever we call ourselves, in India. So this is not, it didn't happen by government policy. It required no government policy. It required no government intervention in it. Government only said, lock out and it's going to stay. So that was the only, everybody found their own solutions. And it all happened. Education for the last 15 months, I think, has been progressing and fairly well. There is debate that A, B, C, D हो रहा है जी, मतलब grades. So I said, वो तो physical world में भी होता था. सबको 100% world marks थोड़ा ना आते थे in the physical world. That was existing. So also now you look at the business and the government life, 4 billion people were sent into lockdown across the globe. And they found a way to work. Still things worked. Supply chains worked. Everything else worked. All the orders, shipments, banking, blah, 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 blah. You can say all the industries, everything worked. So what was behind this? Behind this, of course, was a layer of technology that had been developed over the years, but was progressing slowly. It saw a frenzy in adoption. It saw a very radical shift in trust levels, though those trust levels were forced on us. Because trust deficit was the only reason holding back work from home. It existed in different parts of the world, but in very small proportions. Now at a global level, even in a place like India, we saw work from home happening. It was nothing short of a miracle. Now, what does work from home mean? It means different things to different countries. In a country like India, now the buyers of service also were trusting their people to work from home, whether in-house or outsourced. And there is no study till date that I know of and or aware of that frauds increased and cheating increased during this period. But because people were working from home. I've heard of number of stories to tell. Productivity went up, quality of life went up, and blah, blah. Some social limitations and social pressures to deal with a new work way. That's understandable. And those happen even in the real world, brick and mortar world. But this is a phenomenal learning for a country like India if we are to take it seriously. Because then we ease the pressure on cities. In the BPO world, 60% of employees come from uptown, downtown, villages, everything, who got themselves educated and are working in BPOs and the rest of the industries. Apart from manufacturing and logistics, etc., which require physical presence or hotels and things like that. But all the support backend can very easily move backwards. Allowed to. What does it do? It increases, now look at the employee level. It increases the disposable income to improve the quality of life. Because he's not paying huge rents and boarding lodging, which is being consumed in the big cities by him or her. Disposable income for the betterment of the family, savings for the betterment of the family. And this was witnessed by India. And that is why our consumer durables were selling. Cars were selling. Motorcycles were selling. All other e-commerce was selling. And that's reflected in the stock exchange, because all those companies are also listed there. And I am not ignoring that hardship faced by the others. But in the real world, this is a new blue ocean that is waiting to be tapped. And in the BPO world, it will come at a new cost price, new efficient price, because you don't need high rents and high cost structures for this. And you can do with different business modeling, and the employee gets what he wants, a job and a good salary and good savings, quality of life. He does not have to undertake long travels. Imagine the millions of liters or gallons of diesel and petrol we would save. So it's a ripple down effect to the economy. So we have to take this seriously. And if the government doesn't take it seriously, I think they would be very, very unwise. It would be very immature, because they need to create jobs. So where they're creating Jan Dhan, they can very easily say, okay, we will give 75,000 rupee loan for anybody wanting to work from home. He can buy his own computer, UPS, modem, internet connection. So he is ready to be employed. And his stable chair, because he's got to work 8-10 hours. So equipped in that sense, it's a loan, it's not a freebie. But that's a support that the government can come in to give. That's, what is it? It's nothing. It's not even a cost. So internet, yes, it's got to get with the service providers more stringent on what they deliver, the quality of it, measurement of that. So if it comes down in these ways, and the third part that I want to share with you is the skill gap. The Western world is a comfortable world, and everybody, when they get comfortable with life, they work with their choices. That's a natural thing. That's a good thing. And in that, sometimes there is a large segment which does not want to study certain things, and they have definitely a gap of skills emerging all over the world. And today, as we speak, there are 1 million job postings for e-commerce businesses and retail in America, which are not yet filled. So the BPO guys will have already gone to those jobs that have offered in those areas. If you look at the job openings in the developed world, there is a lot of vacancies and non-availability of skill and resources. And that's where this cloud technology enables us to become seamless as countries, as an operating unit. Not as a legal entity, I don't mean that, but as an operating unit, you just become seamless. You're operating off the same network that is partly in America and 10 different places in America, one in India, one in X, Y, and Z country, and it's one unit. So it's a fabulous opportunity out there waiting for us to jump on it. And there will be all kinds of questions around it. But the fact is, it's already been proven in the last 14 months, it can happen. We just have to make sure we make it now. When it is to be done by choice, it has to be done with better quality and consistency of that quality.
Thank you,
so
sir.
people-wise, we are not short in any case. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no. So you have already thrown adequate light, and especially you are emphasizing on the government sanctioning at least a loan of 75,000 to 1 lakh rupees, so as to enable those who are, especially the inhabitants of our rural hinterland, they can afford to buy the minimum accoutrements, and they can go along with some sort of jobs, that might involve 8 to 10 hours, but it will surely solve the growing unemployment issue, as well as the migration of a vast number of rural populace into the metropolises and the cosmopolitans of our country. So now I'm coming to a very important role that you played by way of a regional president of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, where I think that whatever little information I could glean from your overall, life achievements, you also facilitated some sort of meeting for the BPO in United States of America. So exactly, could you please enlighten our viewers on the myriad aspects of your role as the regional president of Indo-America Chamber of Commerce? That is very important point, sir.
Well, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, like other associations, business forums, and business chambers and associations, by its very name, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, it is a body that has membership of companies that have interests in India and America, and to foster trade and obviously when you foster trade, there's also friendship, and to bring to light certain hardships or roadblocks that are coming in the way of certain segments or industries at policy making. So that was a chamber role as a member of the chamber. And then at the BPO level, we also organized the first time ever. Now the BPO had grown, NASSCOM had grown, all organizations, IT had grown, but we had great conferences in India, but we never did a conference in America or UK of any magnitude till then. And it was an interesting, because America accounts for almost 65% of $100 billion, 140 billion, close to $140 billion today of IT and BPO work. And we didn't have a single conference there. So the idea was, let's try and sow a seed there. It was in partnership with NASSCOM, which is a very large, it is the apex body of association of all IT and BPO companies and BPO businesses, and probably one of the largest and the best in its segment globally. It's done some miraculous work and amazing work for this country and for the industry. And that's how it's played a major role in its growth. But somehow this had got missed out. And it is important to have your flag, take your own flag and put it there, not only keep having the flag flying in your country. So while the individual companies were doing their own piece, as an association, we sowed the seeds for that. And first time conference happened. We made that happen. First time is always difficult. Nobody believes the idea कि ऐसा भी हो सकता है, पर क्या होएगा, क्या नहीं होगा, what will happen, what will not happen, will it be a success or not? So I'm a great believer, you got to do some action. Don't worry about success or failure, because what will happen in the worst is if you fail. Then next time you learn from your failures and make it a success. But if you don't make a move or take no action, then you're neither going to learn anything. There are no failures to learn from even. So that was an interesting piece. And we were fortunate with the support of some industry colleagues and the chambers. We tested waters, and thereafter now it's become an annual feature with NASSCOM and all the other folks out there. So while India is a dominant player, you still need to make your presence felt, because you can start sliding from dominance. People are envious of your dominant position, and then they will start eroding and eating into you without you knowing it. So being out there is very important in all markets, I mean, that you serve. And by no means can you ignore the biggest market in the world. So that is as far as that is concerned. And it was very good learning, I think, for all of us.
So, sir, I would like to say in this very context, because what the experience that you shared with us, I recall during Mr. Narasimha Rao's tenure, having read a very important article, which I would like to correlate with your observation, that Mr. Rao's time, Pakistan had a very strong lobby in US Congress, whereas Indian presence was almost negligible. So Narasimha Rao, being a wily politician and a sagacious leader, he started cultivating the Indian lobby or Indian caucus in US Congress. So coming to your point of view and your exposition on this very important point, do you think that Indo-Chamber of Commerce is also, it can play a pivotal role in terms of strengthening the Indian caucus in America, because it has something to liaise with the American business houses, and thereby it also can play a pivotal role in strengthening the bonding between India and USA?
Well, personally, now I since I'm no longer in the position there, so I will not speak anything that may be officially regarded with the chamber. But I don't think chambers need to get involved in politics.
Okay.
Because chambers survive and outlive the political lives of several decades, where leaderships can keep changing. They need to be fixed on what is right for the business or the particular objective that they are chasing or solving for people, for their members. So I think it'll be a mistake. Those caucuses and those lobbies are a part of the political establishment, so to say, strategies. So I think as business entities, we should not be involved with that, clearly. Because business entities are solely to be driven by business value proposition. And it is not a political contract that will come to you. It is not a political favor or in that sense. Every decision, you will have to fight it on the basis of merit. And clearly, staying clear of that will help, I think, all in the industry on all sides. And that's what has been the case. I don't think, I don't ever remember IT industry to even have an IT ministry till as recent times. And IT industry and the BPO continue to grow because there was no ministry. Okay. And there was no aid to the industry, and which was special to it ever. I don't remember an IT policy that really had any impact. I studied all the IT policies of all the states. They were more real estate policies. कि हम stamp duty माफ कर देंगे, land पे ये कर देंगे, वो कर देंगे. They weren't really job creating policies. Some, and I happen to be a co-author of some of those policies, of when asked by a few state governments, that I said, this is all not required. What you're putting out there, it has no meaning. What has it done for you? You want as jobs. If you want jobs, then if you want to contribute anything, contribute to skill development. And give it by way of skill development. It may be a grant, it may be a subsidy, it may be in whatever form. And some states did that and they saw the benefit of it. And they saw suddenly growth. Madhya Pradesh was one state that came with the first policy that looked different from the rest of the country. And similarly, based on that policy, came the Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Prayotsan Yojana, which was basically giving relief in Provident Fund and a few other things for extra jobs created, which was actually not actually giving anything, because that Provident Fund over the years would give back 10 times more to the government. because that fund would sit with the government. So it was basically a book entry without having to pay anything in real terms. Okay, you may show that you paid to the company, but what you were getting back in the form of provident fund over 5-10 years life of that employee or 30-year life of that employee was nothing. I mean, what you were giving was a minuscule, and both were being able to be serviced by it. So these are the type of interesting things to be created with the government establishment. Other than that, there is no role. They just have to provide the enabling infrastructure and the environment for it. That's.
And sir, actually, what exactly you mean by this enabling infrastructure? Because in course of our conversation in Simla, you are emphasizing on the poor infrastructure facility.
Now, very simple. Enabling infrastructure. It depends. One is short-term tactical moves. What you can do immediately.
What do you mean? How? Sorry, sir.
Sorry, please.
Sir, how infrastructure facelift, can happen, and how government as well as how public-private partnership can play a pivotal role in terms of shaping this infrastructure facelift, which is a sine qua non as per your prescription, for the job, for finding of jobs and for the development of our country. Please, your take on this, sir.
Well, there is nothing more important than skill development in today's world. For skill development, the knowledge, programs, processes exist in a very big way, free and paid, both on the internet. Whether it is learning the language, to other skills of specialized skills, whether it's IT or any other type of skills, and different types of IT, intelligence, and blah, 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 all the streams of it. Well, internet access becomes key in that case. Having a device that allows you to access that, which may be bigger than a mobile. So one is at the education level, having tablets or low-cost PCs, availability as a loan to all the families in this country. Now, it sounds very big, but it isn't that big for a big country like India, where one IPO that happened yesterday came at 60,000 crores and went to 90,000 crores of Zomato. So one company can be that big in a country like India, so which means we are a powerful country. We have the resources. And I'm not saying give it free. It can be attached with loans and things like that. But make that available, the bandwidth and this. Whether it is through the panchayat system in the village, there is ample of resources available. That is the skill development. Now, when you have the raw material ready, they need to have a facility of their laptop, UPS, modem in their homes, and they can advertise that I am a talent as a service. Talent as a service will assume great significance, because that any good person with that skill in their homes will become employable. Just like Uber became, the driver came with a car and said, I'm a qualified driver and I have this car with me. And Uber said, okay, join our party. And Uber became a big thing, and X lakh people became employed in an organized, quasi-organized system. And so did Ola happen and few others. So if that happens, you have to take education in the same way. Education is not, you will not get jobs with a degree. You will get jobs with a skill. And people are willing to pay for the skill. And the next big thing is you don't have to be permanently employed. You will get temporary jobs. You will get part-time jobs. So people have 2 hours to give, 4 hours to give, 8 hours to give, 10 hours to give. You can have them in your homes. We have 6 million physically challenged people in this country. What better thing than taking the job into their home, giving them a dignity of life? There's a ministry for all this. That they need to look at it seriously. We've got 30 to 50 million mothers who by choice, who are educated, by choice have chosen to stay at home, whether it's care for the seniors or the juniors. They can spend 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours from their homes based on their choice. Flexible working. And there will be a market for that. And because that will come very attractive cost, which makes it a win-win for the job giver, because it will almost at the same rate as a full salary if divided by number of hours becomes your hourly rate. But somebody who does not need a full-time accountant, has an accountant working from home, or who has a inventory person working from home, or X, Y, and Z, because her SME को पूरे एम्प्लॉय नहीं चाहिए होते हैं, बट उनको स्पेशलाइज स्किल्स के लोग चाहिए, तो either they are over employed in some place and sitting idle the half time, and or you're short staffed in the other place. So it becomes efficient for both levels. The MS, the medium and small enterprises can also afford these services. So this will be a mushrooming of a new category of educated people working from home. Till now, educated people working from home was not socially acceptable. But COVID has taught us this, that the serious work happens from home. It began with the child, because child education in India is taken very seriously by the family. So yes, the mother and the child were totally allowed their space, chahe ghar chota tha ya bada tha, doesn't matter, but they were given their corner, which earmarked that, yes, this is serious work happening, and home is not a place where anybody can drop in anytime. We will have to make adjustments. During COVID, obviously, people were not socializing, but they got the point. And similarly, for a job, the aspiration was only to go to a big city and go to a big office. But if that big office is going to make you broke on the 20th of every month, that's not serving a purpose. But by sitting at home, if by the 30th you still have 70 to 90% of your cash money left, it changes the world for them in those families. And that is what India is about. I mean, a country where we have 800 million people below the age of 35, how else are you going to cater to it? This is a simple, great way to have a very scalable transformation.
But sir, I have my own misgivings on this. For instance, if you could recall being such an illustrious CEO of Teleperformance India, I would like to draw an example before you, that decades back when Shri C.K. Prahlad, the management guru, had written a very important book, The Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, he had envisaged a particular world for the corporates where they can go and sell it to the rural customers. In the rural market, they can have their own presentation, just, after judging the overall, the paying capacity of the people in the rural areas. So thereby, Hindustan Levers and others, they went out encashing the rural market. So your suggestion is also, it is very phenomenal, as well as it appears to be extremely foresighted, because even after the cessation of so-called COVID, probably many of the corporate houses will come up with this proposal to retrench their overall, if they perceive it to be a very fat sort of, or very, overemployed people, overemployed staff, they might go for a random retrenchment. And instead, as you have suggested, they can just avail the benefits of services of so many people scattered in different parts of the world. So thereby they can go for the cost pruning as well as adding to their overall profitability. So don't you think that you are suggesting some new path for the corporates to encash upon the opportunities, the way C.K. Prahlad had recommended through his book, The Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid? Your take on this, sir?
Well, new opportunities bring threats along with it. Any opportunity. It's like there is no gain without pain. Yes, any system or any people who become less productive, unproductive, should know and will know they are constantly under threat. Government jobs only in India are permanent jobs. The rest, even government jobs anywhere else in the world, you can get fired anytime. Only in India, you have government jobs that have absolute security. The rest nowhere else. So that cannot be a benchmark. And we've seen the service delivery of government. I don't want to get critical of the government because it is not the fault of the employees. It is a structural flaw that we have. When you tell somebody कि आपको ये सब तो मिलेगा ही, आप कुछ भी कर लें, you will have people misuse it. And there is no incentive to do it better. So that is not a good comparison. Now, people will get displaced wherever technology comes. But you have to create room for the absorption. It's not a social obligation of any business. Let's make it very clear. They are not NGOs. And they are not a social welfare state. A business's karma is to be profitable. Any individual, any activity that is becoming unprofitable is at threat and risk. Because the shareholders will ask, why am I a shareholder of this not profitable decision? So management has got to act. Now, there will be room for both. It doesn't mean the whole world will go work from home. There will be. This will be, in my view, a great expansion opportunity. And when expansion happens beyond a certain level, then there may be some adjustments. And there will be buyers for both type of services. Some buyers of the service will say, no, we want brick and mortar. And some will be comfortable with work from home. So there will be room for all. But yes, there will be disruption of some kind. There will be some uneasiness, but that is all healthy and positive in the world. That's how you remain competitive. Because if you give too much of stability and too much of comfort, then you're sure going to die. And that's what happened in a different form. Of course, there were extraneous factors to a lot of businesses that got comfortable with their idea that our process is the best and we are the best and we have a great product and we will tell the customers what they want. And they don't exist anymore. So that staying alive to some form of flexibility and reacting to that flexibility is good. And some people losing their jobs, it's not a great thing, but I don't think it is a terrible thing because it makes the rest 95% more competitive. If 5 people have got to lose from the bottom who are inefficient and who have the least will to do it, then they deserve to lose it. So that the other good people don't get punished because of them. Other good people don't lose their inspiration to get better. So those 5% are always a trade-off. Now, because you don't have that in the government, you will find everybody is very comfortable with their job. Now, whether the citizen is comfortable or not for whom they are in the job, that may be a different question.
Okay. Sir, actually, now I would like to ask you, that since you have already, you dwelt at length on the various facets of BPO businesses and overall the COVID, the work culture or the work life in the post-COVID phase. Kindly tell us something that in the infrastructure wise. So I'd just like to recollect our past interaction with Dr. Shri Sanjay, the longest serving Chief Secretary of Gujarat. In course of an interaction with me on Education by Charcha, he had underscored this very important fact of China's infrastructural growth, which he says, or which rather he said, that it is even the European and American countries appear primitive in front of China's gigantic infrastructural rise. So in view of China's gigantic infrastructure rise, how do you perceive India vis-a-vis that of China in terms of BPO industry or any industry, because India appears to be a pygmy. So how these asymmetry can be amicably resolved so that, as you said, that Zomato, with IPOs, India is being very resourceful because 80, 90,000, crore rupees could be easily, could be sourced from this IPO. So how do you visualize India competing with that of China, especially when we have such a poor infrastructure at our place? This is in relation to China, sir. Your take on this?
First of all, my personal view, we should stop competing with China.
Okay.
Because we are too far away in our even thinking. I'll give you an example. I have yet to see one road that is built by a PWD department in India, which has not broken or has potholes within 6 months of its making. Now, what does this mean? What am I saying with this? We have a highly negligent, wasteful expenditure, which is in the form of recurring maintenance. And this junior engineer, hired as a junior engineer over 40 years, building a defective road, over 40 years becomes the chief engineer of the department. Nowhere in the world it happens. But it happens here. That's a reality. We said we built a tunnel that is 10 kilometers long. Great achievement. Benchmark it with the longest motorable tunnel, which is 24 kilometers long. We built it in 10 kilometers in 10 years. They built 24 kilometers in 5 years. Now, we spent 3,000 crores, that's $400 million. They spent $150 million to make that. So why did we not give the contract to that company? We could have saved $250 million in 5 years. And we should have been like clues working behind them to learn ye karte kaise hain and figure it out and then replicate the same. But we don't have that because there is no accountability in the system. For time overruns, money overruns, quality degradation, there is none. So the Indian system, I love my country, but the fact is, we are a miracle of the world by itself. 1.4 billion people have to tolerate this nonsense and have tolerated it for the last 70 years. And in 2021, to hear excuses like monsoon aa gaya. It's been coming for the last 70 years. The weather Met department tells you when it's coming. So we should forget competing or comparing with something that we are not remotely near. And it's not that we can't be, because we've sent the rocket to the Mars. We built the interballistic missiles, but we don't manufacture a pistol or a gun. rifle, or the howitzer has got to come from abroad, whereas we can send the satellites to the moon, I mean, in orbit. So there are a lot of contradictions there. And those are by design to keep the country inefficient. Because there's no other reason I can understand. So there is a design in it. So what are we comparing? So there is no infrastructural piece. The only, as far as BPO is concerned, yes, China would have given us a run for our money. Like they did in manufacturing, they would like to. The only place where they are not strong enough is the English language. Despite all our shortcomings, India still has the largest English-speaking population in the world in any country. So that's the only competitive advantage that has kept you going. In addition to our STEM biological advantage.
Thank you, sir. Actually, today we all have been hearing the enlightened ideas and thoughts of our honored guest, Shri Sanjay Mehta ji. In fact, I would like to say that he has an oceanic depth and really epitomizes this versatility in himself. He has so many things to give to us, but sir, we have a constant of time. We are honored that your honored self gave us some time and shared your enlightened views with the nation. What sir has said, I would like to correlate the observation of the guest, the very previous preceding session, Dr. Shri Jain Singh ji. And I had to, it comes very readily to my mind that he said that, very recently China had moved water from Yangtze River to that of Wango. But as our honored guest today, Sri Sanjay Mehta said, has very categorically said that we people, we Indians, basically, we have accepted the things to come our way the way it comes since more than 7 decades. And you can see that even the part of Bihar and other parts of India, that is Mithila, continues to be submerged even today with no respite at sight. So, and most importantly, the asymmetry in terms of skill available in the country, and the government job being a permanent one, there is so much security involved. Their performance is absolutely being relegated to the back burner. Obviously, it plays a pivotal role in terms of inefficiency on the part of the government officers or government employees. So, of course, as he very categorically emphasized on this fact that only India has this type of institutionalized system where under the government employees consider themselves so much secure. This also has to change with the passage of time, because as sir has suggested, this post-COVID phase is going to ensure a complete metamorphosis of the work life. And today he had dwelt on it at length as to how the situation is going to be overhauled. So most importantly, sir, I know as I introduced him, before our proceedings started, that he is the man. His biggest success story has been to provide jobs to 60,000 people. And sir, with your message as to how you feel, because indeed it is a matter of a great achievement, unequivocally, that you provided jobs to 60,000 people. So how do you think, because now you are going to take a project to work from home, so your final message to our viewers, how the things will shape up in the future with the particular job that you have taken up, and how it is going to expand across the length and breadth of India with the passage of time. Your take on this by way of a message to our viewers, sir.
Well, I think India, in particularly Indians, are amazingly resilient, amazingly progressive, and amazingly hardworking people. And the world has seen that we are also very smart working people. There will be new opportunities and new people will take advantage. Some legacy will join into it. But yes, my only take is we should not let go of the opportunity that stares us in the face in terms of the expanding the work from home to a more permanent way of work life. It will happen. There will be early adapters. till now, it was not a choice, it was compulsion. But now when choice will be opened up, there will be some early adapters. Most of the business and everything, as per human behavior, the path of least resistance will be taken, will gravitate towards going back to normal, what they consider normal. There will be a segment of people will say, no, the new normal is work from home, and it will gain its identity over time. Just like a few decades back, nobody thought that BPO business, offshore business, IT business was a serious business or a big enough business. I mean, for the last 1 decade, it's become a very serious and a very big business, and it continues to grow at a very rapid pace. It continues to have a very strong growth rate. It continues to feed the GDP of this country in a more significant way than just by itself, but trying to make the economy more efficient. So there will be opportunities, but yes, things will not change overnight. But I think in the power of digital, we've seen and witnessed the growth and the change and the rate of change that took place in the COVID area. That will always continue to challenge us at a benchmark that if we could do it then, why not now? And why not better now? Because everything else is opening up, and we don't have the limitations and restrictions of that phase. So with that, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Sir, it is wonderful. Actually, our viewers from across India and even those who are listening from the world, this was a spectacular show wherein our honored guest, respected Shri Sanjay Mehta, sir, just, on account of our meeting, a very short meeting, when I requested him, he gave his benign, permission to be a part and parcel of today's proceedings. And he has enlightened everyone as to what exactly the COVID scenario is and how it is going to unfold in the future. My dear viewers, I would like to make an announcement, as because we are just about to bid you goodbye, that our next guest is Honorable Shri Sudhindra Kulkarni sir, who had been an illustrious advisor to Honorable Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. Now he will discuss about Indo-Pak policy, Indo-China policy, and diplomacy, because he was the person who saved Vajpayee government's Indo-Pak and Indo-China policy. Today we have had a wonderful session with a CEO of CEOs. The humility of Sri Sanjay Mehta ji, I take it with my head bow down, but I perceive him, I assess him as a CEO of CEOs. The way he has enlightened our proceedings, the way he tried to share his thoughts so frankly, so freely, so unambiguously, I'm sure our viewers might have hugely benefited out of his suggestions, out of his thought process, out of his innovative ideas, out of his own pioneering experience, because he is the man. His success story is to provide jobs to more than 60,000 people. So, sir, I really, I have no words to express my deepest thanks for your enlightening our proceedings, for your illuminating our proceedings. My head bow down to you, sir. I just offer my namaste to you. To all my viewers, I hereby return you to the back again with the commitment that we'll meet on next Saturday at 7 p.m. with another very, very esteemed guest, Honorable Shri Sudhindra Kulkarni ji, the former illustrious advisor to Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji.